The heat of the Nevada desert was brutal that day, but it wasn't what scarred Quinn Fuller. Her return to Los Angeles wasn't a quiet one, it was a resurrection. She stepped into the Forrester building with a new face. Her sharp cheekbones and piercing eyes still unmistakable despite the reconstructed skin. Despite the surgical mastery that had repaired the wreckage left behind by what the media had called a tragic accident. But this was no accident. Quinn claimed. It was attempted murder, and she knew exactly who to blame. Clutching a thick folder with trembling hands wrapped in silk gloves, Quinn walked past stunned employees and directly into Ridge Forrester's office. She didn't bother with small talk. "Carter tried to kill me," she said. The words dropped like a hammer. Her voice had that same cold conviction that once made enemies flinch and lovers fall. She pulled out a crisp insurance contract, 9 figures, clean, signed, airtight. "He cut my brakes," she continued, "and then he set fire to the car. Thought he burned everything. But I kept the original insurance file in my storage unit in Big Pine." Ridge, always suspicious, leaned forward. He didn't trust easily, but Quinn's story was full of dark, seductive logic. She had nearly died, survived with third-degree burns, skin grafts, and weeks in a private recovery facility far off the grid. Now she was back to name her would-be killer. Carter Walton, once her lover, now her accused, didn't hesitate to deny it. When the story broke, he stood behind a podium at Spencer Media's press conference and called the allegations insane, claiming Quinn had orchestrated the entire event. She needed money. She needed attention. She needed a way back into Eric's life, Carter said. She staged it. She created the wreck. She disappeared long enough to make it believable. Now she wants to use me as her ticket to a payout. He insisted that the night of the crash, he had been nowhere near Nevada. "I was in Los Angeles the whole time," he said. "And I have an alibi." But that was where things got muddy. Eric Forrester, already struggling with health concerns and the ghost of his past love for Quinn, found himself in the center of the storm. He had moved on, or thought he had. Donna stood by his side, worried and silent, watching the turmoil reopen old wounds. Eric remembered Quinn at her best and worst. He couldn't imagine her faking something this horrific. But he also couldn't imagine Carter doing something so violent. It tore him in two. Quinn knew it. That was why she came back. Not just for justice, but for him. "You were the only person I thought about when I was on that hospital bed," she whispered during their private encounter. "If Carter could do this to me, he could do it to anyone. And if you don't believe me, then you never really knew me at all." Ridge wasn't one to let accusations hang in the air. He ordered a forensic team to recover the remains of the vehicle. A scorched-out shell of twisted metal abandoned outside Tonopah, where the fire department had written it off as a desert mishap. But Ridge knew the scent of sabotage. He wanted brake lines tested, accelerant traces found, GPS logs reviewed. "Someone wanted her dead," he told Steffi. "Either she's playing us all or someone's going to prison." Meanwhile, the media frenzy grew. Photographs of Quinn's new face surfaced. Close-ups of the scars that even surgery couldn't completely hide. She became a walking question mark. Was she a victim or a con artist? Interviews were requested. Lawyers made statements. Forrester's stock trembled. Spencer Publications ran both narratives. One headline sympathizing with Quinn's trauma, another quoting Carter's legal team accusing her of fraud and psychological instability. Brooke warned Ridge not to get pulled too deep. "Quinn lives in chaos," she reminded him. "She drags it around like a designer handbag." But then the dashcam footage arrived. An anonymous email hit Ridge's inbox with a time-stamped file. Grainy footage from a highway maintenance camera just outside Beatty, Nevada, less than 15 miles from the crash site. The footage was damning. A man, tall, dark suit, same build and gait as Carter, approached Quinn's vehicle hours before the explosion. He leaned against the car, looked around, opened the hood. Then the footage cut out. Ridge's heart raced. The timestamp matched the window of the suspected sabotage. The angle was off, the resolution too low for facial ID, but the resemblance was close enough to cause alarm. Carter's alibi came under immediate scrutiny. He had claimed to be in LA that evening, booked in a legal consultation with a private client. An appointment logged, yes, but held at an unlisted residential address. When pressed, he refused to reveal the client's identity, citing confidentiality. "I'm not hiding anything," he told Ridge and Eric in a tense confrontation. "But if I betray one client's trust, I lose all of it. I'm not risking my career to defend myself against a lie." That only raised more questions. Why was Carter so secretive? Who was worth protecting when his own freedom might be on the line? Quinn pressed forward with legal action. Her attorney filed suit for attempted murder, citing the dashcam footage as circumstantial but compelling. She submitted her medical records. detailed a 6-month recovery that included reconstructive surgeries, isolation, physical therapy. She painted Carter as methodical and patient, someone who knew her routines, who waited until she was alone, who knew exactly how much time he'd have before the fire department would respond in such a remote area. He wanted the body burned, she said in a televised deposition. But he didn't get a body. He got a ghost. The Forresters split down the middle. Steffi and Thomas sided with Ridge, calling for full investigation. Donna remained loyal to Eric, who wavered with every headline. Brooke backed Carter, if only to spite Quinn, whom she still blamed for past family betrayals. Even Hope was drawn into the scandal after being seen having a heated conversation with Carter at Il Giardino, raising suspicions about whether she knew more about his secret meeting that night than she let on. Quinn's insurance company launched its own inquiry. A 9-figure payout was no small matter. They sent adjusters and ex-FBI agents to comb through every version of events. They uncovered something interesting, a last-minute policy update just 2 months before the crash, doubling the payout in the event of a non-natural catastrophic vehicular incident. It was perfectly legal, but it looked suspicious. Carter's team seized on that. She was preparing the stage, they claimed. She created the motive and the means. She knew how to survive it. And she knew Carter would be the perfect scapegoat. Meanwhile, the LAPD opened their own file. The DA's office began asking quiet questions. Ridge, still obsessed with the dashcam footage, hired a private tech firm to enhance the video. They managed to clarify the build, the posture, even the wristwatch on the man's left hand. Same model Carter had worn during a photoshoot just days before. The firm couldn't confirm identity, but they told Ridge, it's likely him. Very likely. As the media frenzy built toward a peak, a leak blew the story wide open. Someone, no one knew who, submitted footage from a second angle, this time from a private business camera near a gas station off Highway 95. It showed the mystery man entering the gas station after the incident with Quinn's car. He was wearing a hat and sunglasses, but he removed them briefly when paying. The face wasn't clear, but the voice caught on audio. The license plate on the motorcycle he rode off on it wasn't Carter's. It was someone else. Someone with no obvious connection. Someone whose involvement would change everything. But the footage ended before a clear identification could be made. And then came the cliffhanger. Ridge finally tracked down Carter's secret alibi. It wasn't just a private client. It was a meeting with someone from Quinn's past. Someone with their own reason to hurt her. The records were sealed, the names redacted, but Ridge knew one thing for sure. Carter wasn't alone that night. And if he wasn't at the crash site, then who was? The investigation fractured again. The lines between truth and fiction blurred completely. Quinn refused to back down. Carter refused to break. Eric's heart fractured under the weight of it all. Brooke and Donna clashed over who to believe. Ridge stood with his evidence, not knowing which path would lead to justice or to destruction. And as the credits rolled on another week in Los Angeles, the camera panned to the enhanced dashcam photo. The man leaned into the hood of the burning car, his face mostly obscured except for one sharp, surgical scar trailing down his jawline. Quinn Fuller never played fair. When she returned to Los Angeles after the Nevada crash, she came with scars, accusations, and something far more dangerous than wounds: documentation. The city was still reeling from her claim that Carter Walton had sabotaged her car, trying to kill her for a massive insurance payout. But this time, Quinn wasn't throwing out wild accusations, she brought a contract. And not just any contract. It was a personal relationship agreement, signed years ago, back when she and Carter were deep in their secret affair, while she was still technically married to Eric. What shocked everyone wasn't that such a document existed, but the clauses buried deep inside it. Clauses that reeked of motive, manipulation, and millions of dollars. Quinn called an impromptu press briefing at Forrester Creations. Much to Ridge's frustration and Eric's visible discomfort, she stood at the podium, eyes sharper than ever, and unzipped the leather case. Inside was a printed contract, crisp despite its age, bearing both her and Carter's signatures. It detailed their relationship timeline, terms of confidentiality, and most damning of all, an obscure financial clause that obligated Quinn to pay Carter a multi-million-dollar emotional severance if she ever ended the relationship without cause. The moment the document hit the public eye, the media exploded. The clause made Carter look like a man who had everything to lose if Quinn walked away. It also made him look like a man with a very clear financial reason to silence her permanently. Carter responded swiftly, standing on the courthouse steps, flanked by his lawyers. He denounced the contract as irrelevant and misleading, claiming the clause was drafted but never enforced. He accused Quinn of weaponizing private intimacy for revenge. "This isn't just about a breakup," he said. This is about a woman trying to twist the truth, to escape scrutiny by painting herself as a victim and me as a monster. But the financial motive was now front and center. Public opinion shifted. Was Quinn a calculating manipulator? Or had Carter exploited her vulnerability, knowing full well that a breakup might cost him everything? Then came Zenday. While scanning archived legal documents related to a past Forrester lawsuit, Zenday stumbled across something strange. He noticed the name of the witness who had signed Quinn and Carter's contract. One Marcus Avery. That name had surfaced before, in a fraud case involving forged signatures on corporate contracts. Zenday pulled the files. The handwriting on both documents was eerily similar. Worse, Marcus Avery had died 2 years before Quinn and Carter's contract was supposedly signed. That witness couldn't have signed anything. The signature was fake. The contract, at least the one Quinn had presented, could be invalid. Zenday took the information to Ridge, who immediately pulled in the legal team. If Quinn's version was based on a forged signature, it wouldn't hold in court. But the scandal didn't end there. Just as the legal team was preparing to discredit the contract entirely, another complication surfaced. Paris Buckingham. She had returned to LA, quietly, not expecting to get pulled back into Forrester drama. But fate intervened when she visited the mailroom and was handed an old banged-up parcel addressed to Quinn. It had been lost in the system for months. Paris, curious, delivered it personally. Quinn opened it in front of Paris, unaware of what was inside. As the wrapping fell away, her face went pale. Inside was a printed draft, her original version of the contract, never signed, never released. The terms were completely different. This version favored Quinn. In it, the financial liability was reversed. Carter would owe her if he ended the relationship without due cause. There was no clause about emotional severance. Instead, there were protections for Quinn's privacy, business shares, and artwork copyrights in the event of a split. The contrast was staggering. One contract made Carter look like a victim, the other made him look like a calculating predator. Both had different signatures, different witness lines, different timestamps. News of the two contracts broke within hours. Ridge called an emergency meeting with the legal team, Steffi, Zenday, and Carter. The question was simple: which version was real? Carter claimed he only ever saw and signed the first one, the version that favored him. He insisted Quinn had fabricated the second draft after their breakup, hoping to use it to protect herself. Quinn countered, saying Carter had tricked her by swapping out the draft she intended to sign with one rewritten. Behind her back, she claimed he knew exactly what he was doing, counting on her emotional state to blind her to the fine print. He knew I wouldn't notice, she told Ridge. He knew I trusted him. Forensic experts were brought in to examine both documents. The ink was consistent on both. The signatures matched. But the witness line, that was the sticking point. Both documents bore the name Marcus Avery. Both appeared notarized, but only one could be real, and both couldn't be authentic. That meant someone forged something. And if someone had faked a contract, that opened a deeper door into fraud, insurance tampering, and premeditated financial deception. Eric found himself dragged into the center once again. Donna begged him to stay out of it, to let the lawyers handle it, but Eric couldn't turn away. He knew both Quinn and Carter too well. One of them was lying. And whoever it was, had tried to manipulate not just each other, but the law, the media, and his family. Meanwhile, Ridge went rogue. Unable to trust either party, he started pulling surveillance footage from the day the contract was allegedly signed. That led him to security footage at a private notary office in West Hollywood. The footage showed Carter entering the office alone on the day in question. Quinn never showed. That undermined Carter's story, that the contract was signed mutually, in person. If Quinn wasn't there, how did her signature get on that version? Forgery became the primary theory. But just as the pieces were falling into place, the cliffhanger hit. A new digital trace emerged. A timestamp email from Quinn's old account, sent the day after Carter claimed the contract was finalized. The attachment? The original contract, the one favoring her. It was automatically backed up to cloud storage. Time-stamped, unaltered, legally admissible. That draft predated the one Carter had submitted. It meant Carter either swapped it, intentionally, or someone else did on his behalf. But that wasn't the final blow. That came when the forensic team analyzed the paper fibers of both documents. The one favoring Carter had inconsistencies. Paper sourced from a different print batch, created months after the supposed signing date. The ink on the witness line? Different formula. A modern pigment not available until 6 months later. Forged, manufactured, faked. And then, as the episode ended, Ridge received an encrypted message from a block number. Attached, a silent security cam clip showing Carter in his office late at night. shuffling two near-identical contracts, replacing one in a sealed envelope marked Q. Fuller, personal. The screen cut to black as Ridge stared at the footage. Was Carter lying the entire time? Or was someone setting him up with footage timed too perfectly to be coincidence? Two contracts. Two different fates. Only one could be real. But whose truth would survive? And whose lie would destroy everything?
Oh.